Creating an entire RPG world from scratch is no small undertaking, and yet it remains a passion of game masters the world over. I recently attended a seminar on world building by Ed Greenwood, the creator of the Forgotten Realms campaign setting. So today we're going to go over 10 hidden gems of world building that he shared with us. Today's video is brought to you by Chepeku Maps. If you're looking for fantasy battle maps to bring your RPG world to life, then look no further. Chepeku Maps cover diverse themes and outlandish ideas you can't find anywhere else, and as you can see, are absolute works of art. What's more, their maps work in every VTT out there, including Alchemy, Roll20, Encounter Plus, Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, and more. It's only $5 for over 4,000 maps, and each map comes with tons of variations. Become a Chepeku patron at the link below, get crazy cool maps, and save yourself some time. Number 1, start with the story. A question you may ask yourself when sitting down to create your world is, where should I start? Well, the answer is simple. Start wherever your story starts. Recently, I kicked off a Pathfinder 2 game with my friends, and even though I was starting with the pre-made world, Eberron, I didn't have everything I would need for my campaign. So, did I start fleshing things out over in Droam when I knew my story would mostly take place in Marar Holds? No, of course not. I started fleshing out the Marar Holds. That's where the action would be, at least at first. The story and plot are the driving force of an RPG campaign. They should also be the driving force of your world building. Number 2, build bottom up. There are 2 theories on how to approach world building. One approach says the GM should start with a world map and then create what's in it. That is top-down creation. The second approach has the GM starting with a specific place in the world and then building outward. This is known as bottom-up creation. And the second approach, bottom-up, has 2 advantages. First, it's more organic for role-playing, and second, it's easier, especially if you've never created worlds before. Ed gave an example of Mert the Moneylender traveling from port city to port city in the Forgotten Realms, and that where Mert went next would dictate which city and area would get created next. Drawing another example from my Pathfinder 2 game, which by the way is called Thieves Abound, and you can actually watch it right here on my channel every couple weeks or so. When I was fleshing out the Marar Holds, most of my initial effort was spent working on Frostmantle, the town where the characters would begin their campaign. And now what I'm going to do is, as their adventures take them elsewhere, I'll build out those areas more. This approach allows me to create exactly what we need just before we need it, saves me time, and if for some reason the direction of the campaign takes a shift, I won't have created parts of the world that will never get used. Number 3, what is this and why is it here? Everything in your world needs a basic description because the characters may interact with it in some way. However, more than that, you should consider why that thing exists in your world. What is its purpose? Why did people create it to begin with? For instance, when I was building out Frostmantle, I asked, why is this town even here? Well, it's there because it serves as a hub for adventuring parties exploring the savage lands of Nuldrenhold. And then that answer informed my creation of the various wards in the town, and was why the Lightshade District was formed, to cater to the needs of adventurers. And then I kept drilling down, placing buildings and services in Lightshade that would serve that purpose. Number 4, ask why and why now. Okay, so you want to place a dragon and its horde in your world. Great, but why? Well, because dragons are cool, one, and also because later on in my campaign, it would be cool to menace the city with the dragon, encouraging the characters to go off and take care of the beastie and get some cool loot in the process. Great. But why now? That is, why is the dragon only now menacing the city? And why hasn't someone else already killed the thing and stolen its treasure? There should be reasons that go deeper than just the surface. And when you bake those reasons into your world, you'll be adding depth and creativity to your world that will make it come alive to both you and your players. Number 5, a world is people, not geography. What defines a world and what your players will remember most isn't the mountain they had to cross. It isn't the foul swamp of bottomless dread. Instead, it's the creatures and people who fill that swamp or who live on that mountain. People give the world life. People make it rich and vibrant. Think about the Lord of Rings or Star Wars or another franchise you love. Is it Gondor we remember, or is it Aragorn and Boromir and the Steward? Do we care about Tatooine or the memorable people that live in the dunes, the Sand People, the Hutts, Obi-Wan, and Luke? What gave those worlds life in our minds and imagination? Mountains to the north, an impressive city fortress, an endless panorama of sand, or was it the people? Yes, you might argue that it was a combination of both, but if we're going to measure which has a greater influence, it's probably going to trend very heavily toward the people, the characters, the personages in those worlds. By the way, if you're enjoying the information in this video, please give me a thumbs up and leave a comment for the algorithm. Let us know what world building tricks you use to create amazing worlds for your games. Number 6. People generate stories, not maps. I love a good map in my role-playing game, whether it's for overland travel or a dungeon my players are exploring. However, the foundation of an RPG is the story. It's the plot that is unfolding around the players, based on the situation a GM creates, and the character's actions and words. And while a map can technically create some story elements, its influence is usually minor. Instead, stories almost always revolve around people, creatures, monsters. And if your game has as its foundation story and plot, you would be well served to ensure that your world is designed to support that. And that means filling your world with interesting and dynamic people and creatures so that an amazing story might result. Number 7, write a rumor a day. As a game master, you have a twofold purpose when world building. Yes, you're creating a physical world filled with places and people. However, you're also crafting the canvas where adventures might take place. And every good adventure revolves around stories. That's where rumors come in, because they can help you do both things at once. I heard that the old black dragon in the swamp has been sighted to the north. With that one rumor, we established that there is a swamp, a dragon, and that he's been sighted. And this latter point begs the question of why and why now. And the answers to those questions create a story and the nucleus of what might be an adventure your players could go on. Plus, you have the added benefit of a list of rumors that an innkeeper might tell the characters about, or that they might overhear folk in the town talking about. How many times have your players asked you something like, what are those people over there talking about? Well, now you're prepared to answer that question, and in a way that drives your campaign forward in a meaningful way. Number 8, how do people talk? This point will be short and sweet. What slang words do people in a city or region use? Do they use colorful expressions with specific meanings? Establish just a few of these and use them in your game. The depth and vibrance this will add to your world cannot be understated. Number 9, use tags. Tags are subtle things that distinguish people, locations, and other things. Harold isn't just an innkeeper. He's the innkeeper with a peg leg, carved into the likeness of the sea serpent that bit it off. Cassandra isn't just a blacksmith. She's the blacksmith that curses and spits on the ground every time she mentions the rival blacksmith across the street, which she does a lot. Lowbrick isn't just the ward where the halflings live. It's the ward that always reeks of manure due to all the dinosaurs the halflings keep as both mounts and beasts of burden. Tags don't have to be complex. In fact, simple tags are best. They not only allow your players to distinguish one innkeeper from the next, but they also add life to your world and make it come alive in your players' imaginations. Number 10, use social combat. If people are the backbone of our worlds, then interactions among people are the flesh that give it life. However, in most RPGs, we have rules for martial combat, but usually not so many rules for social combat. What we need is an interesting way to have social encounters that are far more interesting than taking turns making insight, deception, and persuasion checks. Now, I don't have an answer for you today about that, but I do have a promise. My team and I are working on developing this for you, and we hope to roll it out later this year. And with all of the systems that we create, our social encounter system will be lightweight, easy to learn, and use in your games. By the way, if you're a busy game master looking for easy to use D&D 5e and Pathfinder 2 resources you can use in your games, consider becoming a DM Lair patron. Not only will you help support the content my team and I make, but every month you'll get a new issue of Lair magazine containing adventures, traps, puzzles, monsters, and more for your game. DM Lair patrons even get to play D&D with me. Cool. You're now armed with world building secrets from Ed Greenwood, a true pro. But what exactly should you be creating and fleshing out in your world? For an answer to that question, check out my video right here that walks through the supreme world building methodology. And until next time, happy game mastering.